What's up guys, welcome to Wasted Space, and we're back in Space Engineers, and having had a load of fun doing the Star Trek exploration mod weirdness that we did on stream last week, which you can find linked just up here, I decided I wanted to try and make a ship designed to be used for the same purpose but multi-crew. And that got me thinking about a bunch of different things, what to base it on, and what sort of interior it should have, that sort of idea. And I ended up settling on rebuilding one of the Star Citzen ships in Space Engineers, because they had the right size sort of interior, and of course, they look kind of cool. Star Citzen ships are good looking ships for the most part. So we settled on what you've been seeing glimpses of in front of you here, the Drake Cutlass, which in Star Citzen has three different variants, red, blue and black. And I decided for this purpose we were going to make a new variant, the white variant, which is the exploration refit. So let's wander down and have a look around, because this is my first small ship gone wild. First time I've decided that, screw it, I'm going to mess with mods, and not only that, but I'm going to mess with mods on a small ship to try and make something that's as cool as I can. So this is our Cutlass as she stands. We've got a couple of them down here, and I apologise for the FPS, but I felt it was kind of cooler if we could have a look around this thing in a hangar bay, sort of in situ. They're not quite landed down, I'll admit, but you get the idea. This is what she looks like from the outside, and like the real one, we're going to go around to the back and have a look around the interior, and then we can give her a quick fly to check out her handling characteristics. So, as I said, like the real one, she's boarded from the back using MCM's amazing door ramps, and as you'll have noticed, the whole thing is oxygen sealed. So we managed to make this completely oxygen sealed. The ramp works with gravity as well. It's got its own gravity generators. Let's shut up the rear as well. So over here we got cargo storage, we've got our med bay, and then the reactor assembly. Up above we've got a seat for the top turret, the idea being that that's where the multi-crew thing comes in. The top turret can only be manned by a player and only from that turret, so you've got to move around inside. We've got a very, very cool Star Citizen-esque little boarding door, which again is MCM's work, but look at this thing. It's a little bit jerky to move with, but then it shuts the doors above you as well, and you're down at ground level and you can just step out. I mean, yeah, that is cool. Admittedly, this thing's actually risen up a bit, apparently. I wonder if this has a bounding box underneath it that's behaving a bit weird. Apparently not. Don't know what's happening there then. Let's jump back in again and get back up inside. Back up into the interior. I could have put Digi's ladder mod on for this ladder here, but it's kind of got enough mods as it is. We've got a little seat to manage the reactor situation back there, and we've got another cool little mod in the form of this sort of single slot airlock where the glass rotates around. We use this in group survival as well. And then we've got kind of crew quarters, so this is where you let the Wookiee win. This is where you control comms and monitor other systems on the ship. Of course, we have crew quarters tucked behind this doorway here, so space for the 4-man crew to sleep in another airlocked and sealed environment, just in case something goes wrong overnight. And each of these rooms are air sealed and fully functional. So if I turn the UI on, you can see we've got high oxygen. Artificial gravity is at 2 because there's 2 of these things near each other. And then finally, go up to the front for the 2-person cockpit, again attempting to lay it out like it would be. And of course we've got Phil ship diagnostics on there as usual, because they just make ships look cool. Although you'll notice that this one, it's on a scanning mode, but it's scanning very, very slowly, because it was, with the complexity of this ship, lagging up quite a bit if I made it run any faster. So you get a little idea of what the interior looks like. Let's dive into one of the seats. Now I've got to mention, first things first, this incredibly cool front end with all the windows and so on, which does do a very good job of mimicking what the real Cutlass looks like, was all done by Wedgehog. He is the glass master, and you've got to admit that's got some really cool angles on it for what is actually quite a funny shape to recreate in Space Engineers, and quite a blocky shape at the front end, so making the front end look good is difficult. And I've also got to mention that some of the interior, so if we go back down here, some of this room here and some of the room behind it was done by Morph. So Morph did a whole bunch of work doing out, like for example, the crew quarters in here is Morph, as is a lot of the very cool sort of oxygen stuff on the ceiling, and also the kind of funky and kind of different, I quite enjoyed it, with the different coloured small cargo containers. This little cargo room over the corner was all done by Morph. So this is very much a 3-person ship. I did the sort of the base idea and most of the sort of hardcore outside building, interior building, and then Morph and Wedgie came along and helped me a lot with just getting the final details down, and I think you'll agree that it's pretty cool looking, and at the same time actually quite nicely functional. You can move around in it, which is not always the case with the small ships gone wild. You can use all the cockpits and so on, and I can get down to that front seat without any issues, although that one does tend to pop you outside when you get back out of it again. But that's enough of that. The first thing I've got to mention is that this thing uses the shields mod. So if I turn the UI on, you can see we've got the shields on there. That's to try and work with that whole exploration mode scenario. Make it feel more like a ship that can take a bit of damage before it gets torn apart. Although at the same time, we have battle tested this against a Lotus of all things, and even with the shields out and half of the ship missing, like literally half the ship gone, it still flew okay. So it's fairly tough as well. But hey, we got the shields mod on there. The other thing I've had to do in order to keep the aesthetic is use the Wyvern engines a lot, hidden inside areas of the ship. So the wings, for example, are absolutely filled with engines. But what that does mean is that despite its bulk and size, because obviously it is relatively heavy, it's also pretty swift. It does move quite nicely. Now, I imagine the sim speed's going to be pretty horrid in this world, so I might want to switch to another one some point pretty soon. But she moves quite nice, and I really do like actually most of the angles you can look at the ship from. You can look at it from the side, you can look at it from the top. All looks pretty damn cool. Now, the other things we've got in here are a selection of different weapons. So we have both rocket launchers and fixed guns on the bottom. We've obviously got the turret on the top, and then alongside the shields we also have a couple of jump drives. Where are they? 4 jump drives. So that way you can actually have these set up for different locations, different targets. We've also got quite a lot of beacons and antennas on the ship. There's not much you can do about it. The antennas, obviously, I could go and turn off. But the beacons, as soon as you turn them off, they don't look very cool. And they are pretty cool looking things, so I kind of want to leave the beacons on, especially the ones in the fronts of the engines. But hey, let's go for a little flight test. We got our weapons available, we've got the big cannons on the bottom, and then obviously we've got the turret on the top that I can't man myself and would normally be being manned by somebody else. And I guess what we'll do is come around and do a little attack run on one of the existing ones. There's one here. Oh shit. Ooh, just. You can actually just about fly it from in the cockpit view, which is quite nice, although it does mean that when you're doing it like this, the crosshair is in completely the wrong place. So you can see as I'm shooting there, they aren't really heading towards where my crosshair is. But let's give this a good pounding and then check out the damage, and more importantly, how intact it still is as well. Because this one, I don't even think has its shields turned on. It's hard to tell with the rockets whether or not the shields are on, because of course they kind of obscure the vision of the shield, and here you can see what I mean about the crosshair being in the wrong place. Screw it, more rockets is the answer. What's she doing? She's certainly taking plenty of hits. The shields are down, that's for sure. Alright, let's go and have a look. There's a hole right the way through the hull, so I think we've done some damage for sure. It's a bit of a shame that Space Engineers still doesn't allow you to move around aboard a moving ship in any sort of sensible fashion. So on this, for example, if you were to do the multi-crew thing, you would very much need to make sure that your crew were in their positions at the right times. These thrusters ended up working out so well. There's actually 2 different types of Sage's thrusters. We've got the Milanos and Thruster 3, I think? But yeah, they ended up looking perfect, the same way that Azimus's angled ones on the front ended up just looking right for the task. So, how beaten up and horrid is she? She's got a hole right the way through her neck that is just about still attached. But as I said, the fun thing with this is it's remarkably resilient. I can't get in that, why not? Cockpit is damaged. Okay, let's get in the front one then. This thing will still fly. Haha, okay, ignore me. I was not actually expecting that to just come away, but apparently even this bit will still fly. It's still got shields as well, though. If we were to go in here and find the shields, this is... Okay. Oh no, it's been damaged too badly. That's a shame. It would have 10,000 shields left if the shield generator wasn't that badly damaged. Okay, let's get out of that bit. And the main bit at the back here will, if you go to one of the emergency cockpits in the rear end, you could fly it using that one, but I'm actually going to go up and, as we haven't been up here yet, go up into this area with the big wall of screens and fly from here, and this thing will fly absolutely fine still. It's probably got some bits of itself stuck inside. The shields are starting to come back up. We got any weapons remaining? Oh no, they're damaged. We got one set of rockets and our turret. But she looks pretty good smoking away there, and the point now would be you'd get back to, much like we were doing in the Star Trek exploration thing, you'd get back to your home base, and you'd use the nanite repair mod combined with a projector to build this thing back up again into its original state. You class that as you've repaired, and back out you go. So there you go, guys, that's my Cutlass White Exploration Edition, featuring help from both Morph and Wedgie. I think she's pretty cool. Certainly, I'm quite happy with the first Small Ship Gone Wild I've done, and I think I might be doing more of these. I know it's a bit weird to see me using mods. Trust, I'm not about to abandon doing vanilla-only builds, but this is not something you can do in vanilla, so at some point I had to try it. Hope you enjoyed that one, guys. If you did, please hit like, please hit subscribe, really helps me and the channel out. Cutlass will be up on the workshop if you fancy going and having a play with it. And of course, if you didn't like the video, you know where that dislike button is, but please also hit me up in the comments and give me some idea how I can improve. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.